podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Prior to this season, did you see it as a possibility of winning back-to-back championships?
It's always a possibility. I just knew the challenge of it was going to be really difficult, and we found that out. 7-8 weeks in, and I was like, gee, it's a lot more difficult than I thought actually, because you have to deal with the hoorah around winning a title, and you got to bring boys back down to earth. And then you add a few injuries to that, and you got to find sometimes different ways to win, or different ways to cover up for those massive players that we lost. How do we get the same output from different guys, and you got to figure that out. And every team's coming for their championship. That's their game. So I always felt we'll be great, we'll be good in the playoffs, because of the nature of having to play against everyone's best the whole season. That definitely refines you and sharpens you and builds some resilience there. But it was just like getting through all that and seeing, will we able to get on the other side of that and be in a favourable situation.
Welcome to US Rugby Happy Hour Live. Interviews with the biggest names in American rugby.
The New England Free Jacks, Major League Rugby champions. One-on-one to score.
Here are your hosts, Bill Baker and that other guy.
With us today, the only Major League Rugby head coach to win back-to-back MLR Shields, New England Free Jacks head coach Scott Mathie. Hey, Scott.
How's it going, guys?
Good. How are you?
Oh, man.
Now, I'm not 100% sure that's true, but I think it is, because I believe Seawolves had Phil Mack in 2018 and Richie Walker in 2019. So I believe you are the only head coach to win back-to-back MLR championships. So congratulations.
Just say that again. I think I just lost that a bit, but...
No, we're just saying, Scott, so congratulations on winning the Shield. Now the real party begins. Apparently you're in the car getting ready to go. All the celebrations starting today.
Yeah, well, the celebrations haven't finished, I don't think. It's been good. We got some function on tonight with the city of Quincy. We're off to the Patriots tomorrow, which is pretty cool, and I think we've got a rally on Sunday coming, so it's all happening. Reminds me of last year. It was all a blur.
and a mini parade through the town of Quincy, possibly. So Scott, who's going to be there? Because we've been communicating with a bunch of players in the team. It seems like anybody who plays in the NPC or in Europe are on planes right now. So hopefully you have a good group of the team there.
Yeah, I mean, Chiefs, we've got as you know, we've got a real strong Canadian contingent here, and
sure.
Those boys will be around. We've got all the American boys who are still here. There's a couple of, I think there's still one or two of the foreign boys that are around, which would be great. A couple of the boys that were injured in the course of the campaign will be here too. So there'll be a fair bunch, eh?
Yeah. So Scott, let's talk a little bit about that final against Seattle there. How much were you guys able to... You played Seattle earlier in the season. It was a regular season loss at home for you guys, but what were you able to take from that loss to prepare your squad for the final there on Sunday?
Yeah, a lot. I think we take a lot from every loss, I guess, or I suppose every game really. But it just highlighted for us a few things. Obviously we knew we were going to be targeted at our scrum time. I always felt that our line-out was going to function well. I thought we, the back end of the season, we were really good in the line-out. So I don't think that was probably a big problem for us in that first game. I thought that was going to be their big target area, the set piece, and I think it definitely was. But I felt after the first 3 or 4 scrums, our boys really locked it down, and it became. They couldn't get any love on the maul. They couldn't get too much love on the scrum. So it then kind of swung in our favour quite heavily, I thought. The same thing with that Seattle game early on. We didn't take. We had a lot of very good chances. I always knew we'd create chances against Seattle. They're probably I think they're the most penalised team in MLR. So it was one of those where if we got the right territory and just applied the right pressure, we'd always get penalties. And I think, and that's exactly what we did. We just took points and points and points, and those kind of just started racking up. And so a lot of the things we spoke about, came off. I would have loved us to handle the second half a lot better. I didn't feel like we needed to sustain that much pressure, but yeah.
Yeah, you've been talking game plan, obviously. It seemed like Seattle's forwards were a bit tired late in the match. Was that part of the plan as well, was to get them away from the pack, get them running more, tire them out?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, you could probably see from the starting few phases. We wanted to move that ball around. Get their forwards moving around, all making tackles. Getting off the floor. These are things that were definitely part of our plan. I didn't feel like they had a very strong bench. I always thought our bench has been probably the strongest in the league. So if we find parity or we slightly up come the last 20, 25 minutes, I've always felt like we've got the energy and the ability to really either put a team away or withstand whatever pressures we've been thrown our way. And such was the case. I thought our bench was really good on the weekend.
Prior to this season, I believe you and I chatted for a bit a while back about this, but prior to the season, did you see it as a real possibility? Like, you have a squad, a lot returned, you've added key players. Did you see it as a possibility of winning back-to-back championships?
Yeah, look, I mean, it's always a possibility. I just knew the challenge of it was going to be really difficult. And we found that out. 7-8 weeks in, and I was like, gee, it's a lot more difficult than I thought, actually, because you have to deal with the hoorah all around winning a title, and you got to bring boys back down to earth, and you've got to and then you add a few injuries to that, and you got to find sometimes different ways to win, or different ways to I suppose cover up for those massive players that we lost. How do we get the same output from different guys, and you got to figure that out. And every team's coming for their championship. That's their game. So I definitely felt if we got through it all, if we got through it, we found a way to master all of that. I always felt we'll be great, we'll be good in the playoffs because of the nature of having to play against everyone's best the whole season. That definitely refines you and sharpens you and builds some resilience there. But it was just about getting through all that and seeing, were we able to get on the other side of that and be in a favorable situation,
Yeah, Scott, let's talk about some of those late season additions that you guys brought on. I mean, Toby Ficker, Oscar Lennon, Jed Melvin, he was named player of the match. I mean, talk about the impact of those three guys being able to come onto the squad and help out.
Yeah, I think what people probably don't know is that, chats with those players have been long in the process, So I remember chatting to Oscar Lennon before last season, just around, hey, how's it going? Can we, what's the possibility of this? And you never know when it's going to come to fruition, but you just keep those lines on, and sometimes you get the bite. Same with Toby. Toby was out here last year for a couple of weeks over the summer break, just to come check out Boston. So that was there. And then Jed Melvin, we always wanted Jed from the start, and he had a relationship with Ben, who was at New York, and so kind of went that route. So we didn't get our man initially, but we got him eventually. And it just showed the quality of those guys coming in, and I was just surprised. Really, I was just really that probably speaks volumes of the boys in the environment. Just how quickly they assimilated. It's always a worry. It was a concern of mine. They might be good players, but doesn't always necessarily mean they play for the team, because they have to learn that. You have to learn how we play, and they have to learn what we do and how we do things. So I was just really happy that they were able to, assimilate that quickly.
So if I'm correct, Toby and Oscar are USA qualified. Did that have anything to do with their decision?
Oh, definitely. I think US qualified players are highly sought after and highly prized, especially players of that quality. They almost become foreign spots, if you will, because of their quality, if you know what I'm saying.
Yes.
Yeah.
So let's talk about, just briefly, a little more about the finals. 12,000 plus fans, Scott, at Snapdragon. It's a big place, but did the team get anything, like any kind of push from those fans on there? I mean, I unfortunately couldn't make it this year, but I know there's a good contingent of Free Jacks fans there. But to have 12,000, which is the most ever for MLR, it says a couple of things. One, about the growth of the league, but did they have any impact on the team at all?
Oh, definitely. We always hear our fans. They're very loud. And they were there before when we got off the bus, and they were going crazy, and they were making noise in the field. But it's a fantastic stadium. I think you'll probably find there was obviously Seattle was the closest trip, so there was a fair few Seattle fans, and I don't know. It felt like San Diego fans weren't. I'm not too sure who they were cheering for. It would have been a bit of a difficult one. But yeah, no, we always hear our Quincy faithful out there. It was a great vibe, great energy.
Yeah, I mean, the weather was, sunny, looked good on TV, but do you guys have a preference if you prefer playing like in the evening light and maybe the heat isn't as much, or you just show up when you need to?
Yeah, man, sorry, I got something in my throat there, but I'm not too bothered. I think the boys obviously don't particularly want to. If they had a choice, they wouldn't want to play in the heat of the day. But I definitely think it. I believe we're already fit and a team that can handle all that stuff better than other teams, because we're not a very heavy team. I think sometimes playing in those conditions might suit us more actually than some sides who might have a bigger pack, heavier boys that tends to take a bigger toll on those guys.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit more about the 2024 season. And defense has been pretty stout for you guys all season long. Showed again in the finals. Has that been a concentration or a focus of yours and the coaching staff from day one this season?
Yeah, it always has been. Our game model's always been built around pressurizing the ball. And I think a key part of that is obviously our line speed and our defense. We get it also from our kicking game, a lot of contestable kicks, pressure the ball. We probably evolved a little bit this year too, which we tried to. We definitely made inroads into how we use the ball to attack, and the forward skill sets were a lot better at being able to play the passes really close and tight to the line. But the fundamentals of our game doesn't change, and that's pressurizing the ball through a line speed defense. So.
Yeah, and you talked earlier about weathering some injuries. Certainly, scrum half John Poland, and then 8-man Vian Conradi, some of the bigger names that were out for most of all of the season. Was there ever any concern from the staff when they went down, or is that part of that evolution of how the team had to just adjust to that?
No, I think there's always concern. It's not. We're not. Although we carry a really deep squad. I think we've been purposeful in our recruitment around that. It's still a league where it's not easy to replace your big players. It's not an easy feat. And we forget Mitch Jacobson didn't really play much for us this season. With his shoulder, and he's highly influential captain. And losing Eagle and John Roy late to the end there was also not ideal. But I think once you get over the initial shock, I think it's just more about solving problems. Well, how do we get the same amount of tackles and dominant hits out of our team if Vian's not playing? And it took us a while to figure that out, and kind of get the right balance to make that work. And thankfully, guys like Jed Melvin and Seta Baker, I thought Set stepped up fantastically. I thought he was awesome in the final. Started to manage to carry those loads, and all of a sudden you start to get a different product, but you're getting the same output.
Oh, one of the injuries which didn't happen with the Free Jacks, but Leroux Milan finally getting his try, a year after last year's Chicago match of the finals. Talk about his transition back into maybe 100%, or did he ever get back to 100% this year?
I think it was definitely a process for him. I think more so just having confidence in your leg again. The speed and all the rest of the stuff is there, but it's just that ability to know that, it's you can really go full tilt on it. And I think sometimes he was getting right there, and then he would get like he got like an ankle injury with the last like 3 weeks of the season, which didn't help it. But I definitely thought that come the back end of the season, he was nearing, the quality that we've come to expect. And I think the ankle probably just held him off that last 10%. But in terms of what he gives us, in terms of distribution, just carryability and organization, he's a huge member of this team, and I've no doubt he heads off now to Hawke's Bay, and I think he'll probably just gather that last 10% there, and come back a lot stronger after that.
And you mentioned the Canadian players will be around this week for celebrations, at least. Quite a few Canadians in the team. What's the deal with that? How was it? They were friends with Ben, or friends with Josh, or that kind of communication, or obviously they're quality players.
Yeah, I think it was handy having Josh, and one or two of the boys who really had a good experience here, and obviously it probably wasn't it was good timing for us, with Toronto and how that worked out, so. And with it being proximity close to a lot of these guys where they live, also helpful, used to the cold, similar type of weather. I think there's just a lot of things that fit, if you know what I'm saying. So, and once you've got a couple, it was just so much easier to get a few more. It's been a really strong base for us, haven't they? I mean, we've got a few more American boys in now, I think, over the past year, but I'm always grateful to the Canadian boys. I think they go about their job really well. They diligent, hardworking, and grateful environment.
Yeah, Scott, you mentioned American players this year, Caleb Geiger, and excuse me, certainly Mitch Wilson. He's been a holdover for a number of seasons. Obviously, when a American rugby fan sees that they aren't starting for the Free Jack, I mean, obviously they're good players, but for your squad, were they more important as having an impact coming off the bench?
Yeah, I wouldn't, I'm not too. The guys know on our side, it's first of all, it's a big squad thing. Everyone lifts some, gets a medal. Sometimes you'll be good for the quarterfinal, the quarterfinal match, but the matchup in the semi-final might not be suited to what we need. Then you don't play, and that's just how it is. The team comes first. But guys like Caleb and Mitch, Caleb has just been a revelation on the bench for us. It's he started, I think, Anthem, and that was probably it. And he's definitely going to get more starts. But sometimes it's just about what's going to be best for us. And then Caleb Geiger with 30 minutes left on the field is the best prop in MLR. There's no better. And so I just think for his growth and growth and in the game, I think it's really set him up strongly for what's to come next. Mitchie Wilson, I can't speak highly enough of Mitch Wilson. Like his leadership, his ability. He played a bit of fullback for us this year. He played a lot of games. He started a lot of games. But just at the end, I think Toby probably just I had a chance, and it was touch and go. But I thought Mitchie, when he comes on, him, Ben Lesage, and Holden. And Holden started a lot for us this year too. I just felt those three guys were just going to give us something different and more energy and some sort of work rate off the bench. And they did such a fantastic job against Chicago coming on. We made them early substitutions around 50 minutes, and they just came on, and it was just I felt like it was a real difference maker. So I thought on a wide field, big field, grass field where we're probably going to need more backs, it was really important that I kept the same combination there. But it's just horses for courses a lot of the time, though, I'll be honest.
Yeah. Now, a few more questions for you, but obviously back-to-back titles. Patros won Most Valuable Player of the Year for the league. Do you think you have a very good chance to have back-to-back players of the year? Maybe Reese or somebody?
I would hope so. I think if you go through all that and you come out on the other side and having to do it, I think people understand it's really difficult to do this, man. It's not easy, and
Yeah.
I think that in itself speaks about consistency. And if you're going to award a player of the year, it's all about consistency for me. Who has consistently performed really well, and guys like Potros, guys like Reece McDonald, guys like Wayne Vanderbank, those are the guys that come to mind. Like if you look at consistently doing it week in, week out, and getting a trophy at the end of the day, I just feel it's pretty hard to look past that, to be honest.
Scott, let's look ahead to.
But I'm biased.
Yeah, so am I. We should.
Well, Scott, what is the? Let's look ahead now. What does the off season look like for you personally?
Yeah, we just must get through this week, which is
Hey, easy on your liver.
but it's such an awesome moment of the season, and it's got to be enjoyed. But I think from about 4 weeks ago, TK and I were already, starting to plan and plot for the draft and the recruitment process for next year. We've got to. I think when you win, it makes the cap a bit tighter and a bit more difficult. So we're going to be really shrewd and creative around what we're doing in the roster for next year. So a large part of the next 2 months is just spent on hammering down our recruitment and really getting those draft picks right there.
Hey, real quick, Fitzy, I'm going to jump in. Scott, you mentioned Tom Kindly. TK has risen through this. I mean, he's just keeps stepping up and improving in everything he does. Do you think there's going to be a point soon where it may be tough for you to keep him on the staff because of possible offers from other clubs?
Oh, sorry. TK's, he's embedded in what it is to be a free jack. You're not gonna. There's not a better GM in the league by a long stretch, to be honest. The amount of capacity of work that he can get through, and his care that he has for his players is unrivaled. And I think the Free Jacks have so much to thank this man for. He's made my job an absolute breeze. I get to focus purely on the rugby, and even just with the recruitment and stuff, it's just it's an absolute pleasure. With his attention to detail and his ability to get through masses of work. He's highly prized. I wouldn't be surprised if everyone wants him, but he's. I'm pretty sure.
You got him.
It's a little bit of time.
Well, so you're confirmed for coming back next year. Could you give us an idea of how much your squad is returning next year as well?
There's still quite a bit of water to go under the bridge, to be honest. I think we'll retain a good fair amount. I'm hoping to get to similar as last year, where we had about 70% or so. I mean, I think for MLR standards, that's pretty good. But there's quite a bit of work to be done, yeah.
And let's look at players also. We got, obviously, with Anthem beginning this year and the loaning of players. Let's talk about maybe Junior Gaffa. Drafted last year, loaned to Anthem, had a strong season. Will he be returning to the Free Jacks next year?
Well, that's the plan. The reason for us loaning these guys out wasn't to aid anyone else except ourselves, and obviously to aid the player, because he's gonna improve and all the rest of it. But with the idea of him coming back to really to play for us, So I don't know. I mean, it is. It's barring any new revelations that come out or whatever it is. We're really excited to have Junior back in our ranks and fighting for those centre spots. But it's a funny old off season, eh? So I think as far as the whole squad goes, it's you think one thing and then a lot of things.
It's just generally speaking of the loaning system. It works. You feel like it works. You look at Tavita Soul, returned from Miami, got into the playoffs. Do they come back really improved than when they left?
Yeah, I definitely think so. I think there's no replacing game involvement.
Yeah.
So they're not playing for you. They can trade as much as they want. As much as how highly we think of our training environment, it doesn't match a game. So these guys that go off and play is definitely going to grow them and make them better. So yeah, it's just good to see, like, this year with a couple of those lone players, just we got to see that improvement firsthand.
Scott, you mentioned the upcoming event. You got the MLR Collegiate Draft taking place at the end of this month. Last season, y'all had 3 picks: Gabe Kesey, Junior Gaffa, we just talked about, Will Chevalier. Are there college prospects that you or Tom have kind of identified as some prospects potentially for the Free Jacks?
Not yet. We've had a couple of our guys on the task of literally just they've been to MLR Rising, or Wilsey and Babak have been on that, and they've been compiling that all for us. We just got to now compile the stars that weren't there, and then go through the tape. So that's pretty much going to be the next month's work. And then I think part of that's also just connecting with all the respective coaches at these places. We've got a couple of scout coaches whose opinions we place higher than most, and we'll go through our processes there and kind of whittle that down. But as far as names go, there's a few, but yeah, I probably wouldn't want to jump the gun there.
Yeah. And Scott, finally, I know you had a little on your plate the last week or so. Have you had a chance to watch any of the Olympic Sevens? And are you a Sevens fan?
I enjoy Sevens. I enjoyed it more when the Blitz box were winning all the time. But I've seen the exposure that the women's Sevens has been getting, which has been fantastic. I think the men's game in the States have always been strong, which is awesome. So it's really great for the sport, I guess.
Well, that's what I'm going to ask you. Like, do you potentially see an uptick, maybe involvement with the game, maybe playing, but also fans coming into Quincy?
I hope so. I generally think any exposure is good exposure, whether it's Sevens or not. I think generally the Olympics will probably will get that response with them doing well, and hopefully we see this even bigger responses when we get the 2027 World Cup and after major events, and then obviously leading up to 2031. But I think all these things are really great for the game, and it just promotes the game and creates more those marketing moments, I guess, or advertising the sport.
Well, I know you just talked about South Africa doing well, but maybe if you want another job, the stuff on social media, the Canadian fans like, maybe Scott Mathie should be the Canadian national coach. Because you do so well with them.
Yeah, I know. We have a good relationship with Kingsley, man, and I think after their beating Romania, was it? They probably feel like it's going to be interesting. They play USA this coming November, so we'll see where both squads are at. But it's hard. I got players in both camps, and I kind of want both of them to do well.
Yeah, of course. Well, hey, Scott, thank you so much for joining us. And again, congratulations on winning the championship game this year. And I apologize for not being there for it. My bad.
Thanks for having me, guys.
All right, man. Have a good time this week. We'll talk again soon.
Awesome.
Thanks, Scott.
Cheers, guys.
Yes, always fun having these guys on. That I thought we were going to break some news there. Like, yes, I am taking the Canadian.
No, man, he's looking forward to the parade later today, man. So he's like, give me all this interview. I want to go drink a Sam Adams.
Yeah, exactly. I think the parade is later in the week, but I think tonight is like a taste of Quincy. Yeah, it's called the Taste of Quincy Food Festival, which I think is a very bad idea because these rugby guys are probably hungry.
I'm gonna run out of food.
Exactly. They better have a lot of ribs or something going on there. It's probably the same thing as Ari, how she's just eating and drinking and all stuff. But these guys are like, whatever you got, let me have it. Good stuff, Fitzy. You know what? I think let's call it a day. That's a lot of fun. 2 great guests. For those of you that missed it, tune in to our other episode earlier in the night or day with Ari Ramsey, the Olympic bronze medalist. And check out the podcast replays of both of these interviews coming out tomorrow. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.
Sports Social Podcast Network.